Hello, welcome to Courageous Consciousness. I'm DJ Gallup, and in today's video I wanted to talk about a criticism that I heard about the law of attraction recently. It was totally new to me, but it was something that I thought I should cover here on this channel, and that is that law of attraction is only for people who are privileged. That is the criticism. And this came from a Facebook discussion I was having recently. I had posted something about law of attraction on my page. This Facebook friend who I know from real life, she is a wonderful, brilliant person. She said, one thing that I should be considering is that law of attraction is steeped in privilege. And she said there's a ton of literature about this. And she sent me a link, and then I read that article, and then I read maybe 7 or 8 other articles about this same topic. And what I found is that there seemed to be 2 major criticisms going on about law of attraction. And the first one was that it led to this sort of spiritual materialism, where people are only doing law of attraction for the money, for the wealth, for the cars, for these things, for the house, whatever. And that can cause some sort of problems, right? And then the other main criticism had to do with law of attraction and victim blaming. And both of these seem to be tied into notions of privilege. And I will explore both of these a little bit further in just a moment. But I did want to add that this very same Facebook friend who had posted this also shared a personal story. And one thing she said was that a while back, she was adopting her son, and her son was born in a third world country. And so, she was getting ready to adopt her son, and this friend of hers who was really into law of attraction said to her, hey, you should be so happy that all of the positive energy and all of the positive vibrations you have allowed you to adopt your son. And she was pretty darn horrified by that sentiment, because she said, well, yeah, I do get to adopt my son, but what about his poor birth mother who has to, give him up? And what this particular friend said was, oh, well, she has bad energy, she has low vibrations, and that's why she has to give up her son. And naturally, of course, this Facebook friend of mine was completely, utterly devastated and horrified by that. And I can't blame her for a second. This particular friend may not have been realizing it and may have meant very well, but they were being an insensitive asshole, okay? I've read a lot of law of attraction. I've read well over 30 books on it. I have never heard of someone doing that level of victim blaming in law of attraction. I've just never heard anything like that. So before I get into the other criticisms that I've been reading online, I will say that, it's a good thing for all of us to remember that, like any other spiritual practice that we might do, or like any other religious text or anything else out there, there are going to be people out there who either just don't understand it, they're misunderstanding, they're misusing it, they're using it to cause harm. It can happen. So if you are practicing law of attraction, if you're just getting into it, or if you've been into it for a while, it is a really good idea to always be actually reading up on it, to be studying it, to really understand how it works, because otherwise you may be an insensitive asshole who says something like that to someone else, and that is not what we want, and that is not the law of attraction that I've read and studied, and it's not my understanding of it whatsoever. So before I get into the real criticisms, I wanted to talk about that. We can remember law of attraction can be used poorly if you don't understand it, okay? Or if you misuse it. So anyway, on to the criticisms. So like I said, the very first criticism I saw in a lot of these articles, and it was repeated time and time and time again, is that law of attraction leads to this spiritual materialism, where a lot of people get into law of attraction for the monetary reasons, right? They think, oh, I want to attract money, I want to attract wealth, I want to attract fame or status or a job or a house or a car or whatever else. And so it gets very, very materialistic very, very fast. And I will say, I think this actually can be a really completely legitimate criticism, because I think a lot of people do get into law of attraction and continue to practice it for these very reasons. They want to attract all of these things into their lives. Now, do I think that's necessarily a bad thing? I don't think entirely. I think if you want or need a new car, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be trying to draw one into your vortex. I mean, that's okay. If you are not doing well financially and you want to draw more money into your experience, I don't think there's any particular issue with that. But I do get the criticism where this may be tied to elements of privilege. And certainly if you were fortunate enough to be born into a wealthier family or a more well-to-do family, certainly if you're, white, then a lot of these things may manifest more easily for you. So I can understand that that is actually a legitimate criticism. And I will say, I'm as much a part of it as anyone. In fact, I'll show you guys here. Right here on the wallpaper on my phone, I'm not going to lie, I want a new car. I want this car. It is a 2020 Mazda 3. It is what I want. That is the color I want. So I get into the spiritual materialism part of it as well. It's not the only thing I do, but certainly I can see where if that is all people are focusing on, it can be a bad thing. And what I will say, though, is that, I have a husband who, if you've been watching my channel, my husband, Rashawn, he works with Doctors Without Borders. He works currently in the Congo. He is working in a community that is, of course, completely impoverished. It is a war zone. There are very, very few jobs. There's very, very little opportunity for people there. But on a day-to-day basis, not only does he still believe in law of attraction, but he practices it. And a lot of what he practices and a lot of what he's trying to attract are good things for the people in the hospital, good things for people in the community, and good things for the country at large. And he has been really, really successful at bringing to life some of his manifestations. So one thing I will say about this spiritual materialism aspect, criticism of law of attraction is, and I have found this too, is that if you are looking to manifest or attract something into your life that is for the benefit of other people, I have found that it tends to work a lot better. So keep in mind, you can use law of attraction not just for yourself and not just to benefit your own bank account, but you can use it to benefit other people. And oftentimes, if you do, you will find that things will manifest a little bit more readily and a little bit more easily. At least this is my experience. Okay? So that's the first criticism, and I do understand that criticism and where it comes from. The other criticism that kind of kept popping up in a lot of these articles had to do with victim blaming. And what they said with the victim blaming is that, if all law of attraction is people thinking positive thoughts, well, what happens if they are having a really bad experience in their life, while thinking all of these positive thoughts? Isn't that victim blaming? People who are born into abusive households or poor households, are we blaming them for being born into poor households or abusive households? And I would say people who made this criticism, I don't think this one holds quite as much water, because law of attraction is very, very, very clear on this. And whether you like their explanation or don't like their explanation, they're very, very clear on this explanation, which is that, yes, of course, bad things do happen. Bad things happen to everybody. That is a part of life. Yes, some people are born poor. Some people go through bad, health experiences. Some people go through bad divorces. Bad things happen to everyone. In law of attraction, those bad things that happen to you are referred to as contrast, okay? And the entire purpose of contrast is, it is kind of educational model, you know. So by going through these tough times, by going through this contrast, what it does is it forces you to realize and think about what it is you want. If you were raised in an abusive family, you might start realizing as you get older and as you're living through it that you want to live in a loving household that is not abusive, right? If you grew up in abject poverty, through time you may realize that I don't want to be poor as I get older, right? So by going through this bad contrast, you know, or these bad things in your life, it's just forcing you to realize what it is you want in your life. And then if you actually deliberately put energy behind those thoughts, and then those thoughts, turn into well-meaning actions, then you can start moving in the direction that you want in your life. So I'll say I do, to an extent, get the criticism of the victim blaming, but I think people who are making that criticism were really not understanding the law of attraction, at least as I've read it and studied it and practiced it over the years. I've been practicing it for years, and I have never once victim blamed for anything. So I think that criticism, it holds quite a bit less water for me personally, at least. Now, with all that being said, do I think that law of attraction is only for people who are privileged? I would say no. Now, I understand, and you may say this as well, of course, I may say that because, of course, I am a white male. I understand that being a white male does make my life a lot easier in America in 2019. I am not denying that in any capacity at all. That is absolutely true. But what I will say is that what law of attraction is really about is it's not just about being positive. What law of attraction is about is deliberately directing your thoughts toward the things that you want in your life. And that could be a career, that could be your family, that could be, life situations, that could be dealing with coworkers. It doesn't matter. Law of attraction is all about, you have a choice in your mind between either going down the negative route and seeing, going down and recognizing things that you don't want and keep your mind going in that direction, or you have the ability of visualizing what you want and going in that direction. And what law of attraction says is that by deliberately controlling your thoughts and monitoring your thoughts and going in a more positive direction like that, you're going to tend to attract more things to yourself that are good. And I believe that this is the case across the board. I don't think it matters if you are white or black, if you are rich or poor. I think that everyone certainly has the capacity of deliberately controlling their thoughts or selecting their thoughts and going toward something that is better for them. Now, certainly, if you come from a wealthy family, can things manifest maybe more easily and more readily? Sure, I don't deny that at all. But even if you were born into the poorest family in town, you can still deliberately select thoughts that will bring you in a better feeling direction, that will maybe help you take more positive action toward those steps that will take you toward what you want in your life. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that or anything bad with that at all. And I would say that everyone I know in my life would benefit by practicing law of attraction at least a little bit in their day-to-day lives. I can't see where there's a negative to it, but I do think that there is a little bit of truth to the criticisms that I was reading about. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there today. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And of course, I love comments. I love people who hit that like button. I love subscribers. And I'm making videos on the regular now. So I hope to see you guys all tomorrow. Thank you all for watching. See ya.